Aloha and welcome to part 3 of This is Why Cancer is Cancer. So in parts 1 and 2 I was explaining that cancer, having the disease or being under the sign of Cancer in the zodiac, the two words are actually the same and they are etymologically rooted to the same source, which is the crab or the karkinos. And it is the creature of the deep or the divide where the land meets the water, this realm of division. And all of the ancient stories that I've been talking about are about the primordial abyss or the goddess of the deep that is split in two, divided in two. And like I said, it's the whole story of the Bible, as I've explained many times. And when you watch movies, it's pretty much the same thing as well. And all of this ancient mythology of splitting the goddess in two, going back to, ancient Tiamat, Ra, the sun god who fights the serpent dragon Apep. The list goes on and on of slaying the primordial dragon. So it's about dividing the season in two, or dividing the waters in two. So that's why all of these ancient stories have the hero, the slayer, who goes and slays the primordial dragon. So when we look back into history, the same story is told over and over again. In fact, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, he slays Humbaba, and Baal slays Lotan. We have Yahweh, who slays the Leviathan. Zeus slays Typhon. Apollo slays Python. Hercules slays Hydra. St. George, the Dragon Slayer, all the Dragon Slayer movies you watch, it's all saying the same thing. Beowulf slays the dragon, etc. So the splitting in two, or the cutting in two, the division, is the very meaning, like I said, of the Bible, September 11th, the twin pillars, the very meaning of El, the twin pillars of him and Asherah. So this cutting or division is why even Jesus, his name, the Dios, means division, divide, like Diana. And that's why he wears, garments that are split in two, or the diagonal cut. So the ancient Enuma Elish, which is the beginning opening words, when on high, the Most High. So let me read this to you. When the sky above was not named, and the earth beneath did not yet bear a name, and the primeval Apsu, who begot them, and Chaos, Tiamat, the mother of them both, their waters were mingled together, and no field was formed, no marsh was to be seen, when of the gods none had been called into being. So the story goes on that Marduk slays the primordial dragon, serpent dragon, Tiamat. He splits her open, her belly open, splits her heart open, and he splits her body in two, like a shellfish or a flatfish that's cut in two. Half of her he set up as covering the firmament of the heavens, and the other half was used as the firmament of the dry land. In Tablet 5 it reads, Marduk made the stations for the great gods, the stars, their images, as the stars of the zodiac he fixed. He ordained the year, and into sections he divided it. For the 12 months he fixed 3 stars. It goes on and on, but the point is that El Shaddai, the Most High God of the Bible, he is also known as El Elyon, the Most High. In Deuteronomy, we find when the Most High Elyon appointed the nations, when he divided humankind, he fixed the boundaries of the peoples according to the numbers of the gods. Of course, the Sumerian gods were always numbered. So now you actually know why Bethlehem means Lamu and Lamu. It's the ancient Mesopotamian agricultural deities, the bull gods of Sumeria. So the Epic of Gilgamesh or the Enuma Elish are the deluge epics of the floods. Okay, exactly like the Bible, 7 and all the numerology, and there's just tons of information to prove all this, which is interesting. And Tiamat and all that, the goddess of the waters, the 11, and of course why Aquarius is the 11th house, she who bears the waters. And you notice the symbol is the two waters, or the firmaments. They're divided. So the biblical flood story, the deluge, the book of Genesis creation story, is the exact same story as a much older story of the Enuma Elish, thousands of years before, where God divides the waters, the firmaments. Nothing existed before. Everything was empty and void except chaos and darkness and the waters. And that's exactly why the Bible has the dividing waters. So the ancient division, or the dividing waters, is the dividing of the ancient primordial dragon beast in two. Thus, it is the season of nature, the white dragon and the red dragon. And like I said, everything about the bi-bulls, or the two bulls of heaven and hell, is the division or the divide of the sacred animal that is cut in two, which means the covenant, which means the zodiac, or the zodiac, the animal that is cut in two, the solstice, the year that is divided. Like I said, all games are divided in two, the two halves, the two sides, which is exactly why you have half time in the game of football, the symbol of the female that goes through the goalpost, which of course, by the way, is the symbol of the wishbone, for example, that is broken or divided in two and gives you the fortune. And that's exactly why you have a fortune cookie that is cut in two. You split it in two to get your fortune. Okay? It is the fourfold of the four seasons that are folded in two, and it looks like a clamshell. And it comes from Japan, by the way, which of course they're known for their seafood. And of course, by the way, that's why on your birthday, which is dividing the old year to the new year, the fortune is being told, which is why you burn the pillars down, the fire pillars, and blow them out and make a wish. And then you do what? You cut the cake, which is just like the cookie, which is the symbol of the harvest. You divide it and cut it in two. So it's the whole ritual of your birthday, the annual cycle of the sun. So like I said, all these movies are about the division of the two, the splitting of the two seasons, like Alice in Wonderland and Huntsman. Any movie you can think of, it's going to be about the sun versus the moon, or winter versus summer. So in the movies of the seamen that are swallowed up by the ancient primordial goddess of the deep, or the Kraken, that's why I was telling you the seaman ship is split in two. They're the Titan primordial gods of the abyss. And that's why the Titanic, which of course was due to be shipped out on April 1st, the month of the traveling fool, that's when we pay our taxes, April 15th, on its water maiden voyage, the Titanic, at the mid-L, or the time of the past and time of the new, the division or the divide, the Titanic hits the pillar or the pole, the iceberg, and then of course it splits in two, and of course that's why it goes and sinks to the bottom of the abyss. So of course that's exactly why the World Trade Center, which is the symbol of uniting and dividing, it was cut in two on its birthday, as I explained when Henry Hudson discovered the World Trade Center, Manhattan, on September 11th. in the 1600s. So it was the magic of the birthday of the World Trade Center. And that's exactly why the magic show that we watch, they use the primordial beautiful goddess. And what do? They split her in two. The beautiful goddess that is used in magic shows, which is exactly why the number one thing, the magic trick they do, is pulling the rabbit out of the hole. The famous rabbit hole of the goddess, the abyss of the deep. So these creation myths are actually sexual fertility myths as well, which is why we have something that slams into something else for the creation, the Big Bang, if you will. So we have these ancient stories of the goddess who split in two, the sexual creation, just as Osiris, Nimrod, where their penis is severed, thrown to the ocean, eaten by fish, whatever story you want to go with. Kronos, who, Saturnel, who castrates his father Uranus and cuts off his genitalia, which is thrown behind him because it's the old, the past, he is the new. And it's thrown into the ocean or the sea. And from the foam of the genitalia, the semen, the sperm, gives rise or birth to the goddess of beauty, goddess of the sea, Aphrodite, or Venus. She is the one of the foam, the white foam of the ocean, which is the very meaning of her name. So that's why I was showing you the goddess Ariel, who is the water maid, the one of the foam, and that's why they have the Titan gods and goddesses and the Kraken with her crack and her sacred labyrinth that she lives in. And of course, this is exactly why they showed you the penis, because it had to do with the whole story of the penis being cut off and giving rise to the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite, or Ariel, the little mermaid, the little water maid of sexual fertility. So I think now you will understand exactly why we have the goddess of the sea, the mermaid, that is split in two, showing you her vagina. It is the goddess of Starbucks. The goddess of Starbucks is the goddess of the black coffee, of the abyss, the deep. So this is exactly why they have the foam on your coffee and add it to the coffee. The white, foamy goddess of the abyss. And by the way, the crab is also related to the sacred foam. So the ancient goddess of the sea, or the mermaid, the one of the foam, is why the girls are always pictured at the beach, in the ocean, in the foam, the wet and wild, foamy one, which is why they have the wet and wild foam parties, the sexual foam of fertility. So you're understanding all about the primordial aspects of dividing the waters of the sacred goddess in two, and thus the relationship of the divide, or the dividing cells of Cancer. So the ocean and the aspects of the water is the primordial abyss of the goddess, and the clamshell and the fishy ocean salty smells and taste is why it's related to the goddess. So the clamshell that is split in two, fortune cookie that is split in two and you get your fortune inside, it's why oysters or clams and different seashells have what's called a little treasure inside. Thus the pearl, and the pearl is related to the goddess as well as Cancer, and even saving Cancer patients with pearls. So perhaps now you'll understand why we have the treasure of the sunken ship, or the ones of death, the black pearl, the wicked wench, which is exactly why being at the bottom of the ocean, is known as Davy Jones' locker.